Today's date is October 18th, 2017. Hello and welcome to Hit the Books Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And we're here to give you all the saucy deets on everything comics this week. Emery, what have you been reading?
Well, as I've said last time, kinda sticking with Mr. Miracle right now.
You guys might notice a pattern for us by now.
Yeah. Mr. Miracle, X-Men Gold, and what else have I been reading? Did I read any Low? No, not yet. I'm going to pick that back up. If you haven't checked out Low, you should. The story is amazing. And the artwork itself, oh my God.
What's the general story?
The general story is...
Without too many spoilers.
Okay. It's... The story is in an alternate universe or in the far-flung future. It's unclear. There are underwater societies. Like, all of society has gone completely underwater for whatever reason. And it's gotten to the point where, because they're underwater and resources are limited, things are starting to get pretty bad. And
so it's like BioShock.
Pretty much. Like, imagine BioShock, but somehow more depraved and more decadent.
That's kind of hard to imagine.
This guy found a way.
Nice.
That's basically the story of Low. The main character is a mother looking for her children. One she finds really soon. The other, I think she finds a bit later, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
But yeah, it's all about, apart from finding her children, it's about finding a way to restore humanity.
All right. Anything else?
Nothing else I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, no, that's been it for me.
Well, once again, we've been struggling to get everything together. And congratulations to us. Our website is finally up and running.
Hey!
Our RSS feed is finally up and running.
Hey!
All our content is uploaded to YouTube, to
Hey!
iTunes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Stitcher.
So
now you can take us with you on the go if you don't want to look at our ugly mugs for an hour or 2 hours, however long our podcasts are. And that includes our movie reviews and other reviews and stuff we'll be doing. The only thing I don't think will be put up on Stitcher and iTunes at some point is our instructional videos, because obviously you need a visual medium for that.
Right.
And I would imagine any kind of parodies or anything we do like that. So any kind of discussion topic, whether it be, reviews. For those of you who don't know about our reviews, we do a spoiler-free take in the beginning, and then we give you a warning, and then we get into spoilers in our movie reviews and game reviews and all that stuff. Hoping to have a few more reviews for you soon, including one video game at least, and maybe one or two movies, if we can finally get together and see these things. Emery's already covered a lot of it, but I need to catch up. So the only real comic I've read is the one you loaned to me, once again, which is this here, Mr. Miracle number 3. And notice he got the variant of the week edition.
Oh, yeah.
From, what was it, last week? So, I really haven't done much more than that, and once again, it's kept me in it.
Oh, yeah.
Although it's starting to hint at a direction that I wasn't really as into. And they started talking about the Doctor at the end. No spoilers, but I don't know. I feel like it's going to end up being a really cool build-up with kind of like an average payback. We'll see.
We'll see.
It still kept me in it strong and everything. And again, this emphasizes how the dark side line is being used a little less and less effectively as time goes on.
Yeah.
So We'll see how that goes, but it's really interesting. It's really cool, and it's fun trying to pick up all the little subtle hints that I imagine Tom King is trying to drop to us.
Oh yeah, I am really excited to see where it goes, given that there are 9 issues left of this.
Yeah. So if you're not reading this, I highly recommend you pick it up now, because I imagine this is going to be A, very collectible, and B, fun to read.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Definitely seek this comic out if you haven't already. And with that, let's get to the news. There's really not anything too big that's come out since last week, especially since we've been doing these podcasts a little late.
Yeah.
Update on that. Now that everything is in place, I hope to have every new podcast out by Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that the morning you wake up on Wednesday, you can actually hear what the new releases are. So look out for that, if not a little earlier. The aim is going to be Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night, so you can listen to it by Wednesday morning. So you might get it early sometimes. We'll see what happens. First up on the news, we have Beast Boy being casted for the DC streaming app show Titans. It was originally going to be on TNT and be a movie.
Right.
Now exclusive to DC digital streaming.
They have downgraded this project so much.
Yeah. They're basically sending it to die, which is sad because they have a lot of talent coming to it, including the guy who was cast as Nightwing that we discussed last time.
Brendan Thwaites.
Yeah, Thwaites. But a young fellow named Ryan Potter has been cast as Beast Boy, and he seems to be a Japanese-American actor that has done mostly voice acting roles, but has had a role doing, I guess, martial arts stuff on a Nickelodeon show called Super Ninjas.
Super Ninjas.
Apparently he's trained in several martial arts and stuff, which is kind of cool, but I don't see why Beast Boy needs to know martial arts, but,
Well, I'm assuming if they're going to incorporate any of Mr. Potter's martial arts mastery, that's going to come, later in the show. Otherwise, this might just be acting for him, which we'll see how that goes. Yeah. It would be nice to see that on TV.
Yeah.
That's the big thing that's killing this for me.
I guess he played Hero in Big Hero 6, and that's
Yes.
his biggest
that
role,
is his
at
claim
least
to fame.
on voice acting. Never watched Super Ninjas on Nickelodeon or anything like it.
Completely missed that one.
So I have no reference for his visual on-camera acting, but hopefully he's good. He looks like a kid who knows what he's doing.
Yeah. One thing that I am really curious about is, with the talent that they're getting for this project, it seems like they are either betting really big and hoping that this service that they're trying to release is going to take off with people's interest in the Titans or the Teen Titans, or if they really are doing this as we're kind of trying to play it safe with our money. This is going to be kind of a vote of no confidence.
I don't know. My impression is they're trying to do the Star Trek Discovery thing with it.
Right.
Where they're trying to put such a big, important project on the app that they're hoping it will pull in enough customers to the app to justify the app.
Yeah.
But I think both CBS with Star Trek Discovery and this new DC streaming app are both going to be fatally flawed, and that they're contending with Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, Crackle, you name it.
Right.
And I think it's just going to send both of these shows to their deaths, even if they are great. And I mean, even PlayStation tried their hand at free streaming of movies and stuff with Powers and whatever.
Yeah,
and
they did
with their PlayStation Plus subscriptions, and I'm pretty sure the ratings for that haven't been great either. So I don't know if that show's still going. I think they made a season 2, but a while ago, but I don't know if it's still around.
Yeah, I'm not sure if their season 2 for that came out last year, but I have not heard anything in regards to them doing a season 3.
Yeah, and it bums me out because I honestly think that it'll be a good project, just like Star Trek Discovery probably is. I haven't seen it because I refuse to pay for the streaming app, but
right.
I think they're honestly just unintentionally sending it to its death, and you're going to have once again another big DC property that people really love but either can't access or don't have enough to watch because of bad timing and whatever else. I think the DC brand is just being mishandled very poorly.
Yeah,
you already have all these properties on the CW. You have your Supergirl, which is supposed to be on CW now. I don't know.
It is on the CW. Everything Greg Berlanti produced is now on the CW.
And then, Constantine was sent to its death because it was on a Friday night,
Hashtag save Constantine.
Which was probably, in my opinion, the best of all of these shows, including Gotham,
Fun fact, Constantine is making an appearance on The Flash this season.
Yeah, he's been on Arrow.
Yeah. On
a crossover episode. I guess he's appearing on Flash, but I thought it was the Heroes of Tomorrow. I thought he was making an appearance on that.
He might be doing that too.
But Matt Ryan needs his show back, man.
Yeah, he does.
I don't care if it's on Netflix. I don't care who DC has to give a good deal to.
Right.
Just bring Constantine back. Gotham had a lot of potential when it was about Gordon.
Yeah.
But then they made it all about this kid I don't like or care about. And made all the villains just worse and worse and worse as time went on. After Jada Pinkett Smith,
yeah.
Even Penguin was kind of cool at the beginning, but they just keep making it more and more silly. I don't know.
Yeah, this could have been a gritty crime drama.
Yeah.
That just happened to take place in Gotham.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a production problem. I don't know if it's a problem on DC's end. I don't know who is in charge of managing all these properties and sending them out to these networks and splitting them up so much and then having them in contrast with the movies. But they're just not handling them very well. And I wish they would handle them better because there's so much potential and there's so much good among it all. If you can,
there's a stupid amount of potential here.
If you can organize it in a good fashion, in a proper fashion, you would have a ton of viewers. You would probably have all the streaming you want, but don't put it on a proprietary app. Don't put it in contrast to the movie versions, which are already conflicting with people's, perceptions,
Right.
Biggest one being Flash.
Yeah, Marvel itself is potentially going to be running into that same issue with Disney not renewing their deal with Netflix the next year or so.
That's again because Disney wants to make an exclusive app and force you to use their exclusive app.
Right.
All these things add up for the average individual, including us,
Yeah.
I currently have Netflix. I have Amazon Prime because I got it for free for some issue that they had with me.
Yeah.
And I used to have Hulu, but I dropped it because I couldn't afford all these apps. And I have PlayStation View for my cable service, so I can watch certain sports and stuff. And that's it. And even that amounts to a total of probably, I don't know, $50-$60 if you include renewing Prime and stuff.
Yeah.
Really, I only use Prime for one show, and that's that, Top Gear replacement show. I forget
the GT.
Yeah, it's something. It's like
GT is the one with all of the people who used to be on Top Gear.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't even use it. So there's all these things you got to contend with, and if I had my choice between all of these options, I wouldn't choose the CBS app. I wouldn't choose the DC streaming app. I probably wouldn't even choose the Disney app. I would probably go back to Hulu and be like, I want Hulu back. Thanks.
Right.
Or,
Hulu's where like all of the things are already.
Or the
like
sushi
Netflix.
roll. What's the one?
Crunchyroll?
Crunchyroll. That's the one I was thinking.
Like if you're into anime,
I would choose any of those options over these individual streaming apps,
It's like, oh, VRV's out. If you're really into Attack on Titan, you can watch that like super early.
Yeah.
Or I could just wait for it to go to Netflix, which I'm already paying for.
So once again, it looks like great casting so far. It looks like they're doing it smart, at least from the man personnel mantra. But I just feel like DC and all these other properties are just sending them to their death.
Yeah, it's like they're. This is gambling. That's what this is.
And I don't think it's going to pay off.
Yeah, no, this is...
I am your primary customer. I am your primary consumer. And even if I am not interested, imagine what your everyday average consumer is going to be interested in. Probably not much, unless they have a substantial amount of financial security.
Yeah, there's like the draw to Hulu and Netflix is that you're going to those particular things because of the massive amount that you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
If you have some of those people taking their own thing to their own private thing that you have to pay for separately, and it's just the one thing that you'd only be interested in, why would you pay that much just to watch that one thing?
Yeah. Oh, well, on to the next news item with that disappointing news. We have more disappointing news.
More disappointing news.
All right, this comic series I'm not really familiar with because it came after Rebirth, and I haven't really been reading it or anything because obviously we've been trying to get everything set up for ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
But the comic Superwoman has been canceled, and the last issue appears to be issue 18, which is coming in the far future. No reasons. I'm guessing it just wasn't selling well. Based on the covers, I'm guessing Superwoman is just Power Girl because the outfit is very similar.
It's a safe assumption.
So I haven't read it. I don't know what's going on in it. I apologize for not knowing what the hell's going on in it. But again, we've been backed up a little bit.
Yeah, that's one thing that you will notice pretty quickly watching us. Is that while we are huge comic book nerds and fans, in the real world, it's next to impossible to keep up with absolutely everything.
Both financially and in time management, so
yeah,
forgive us. But hopefully once we get all this stuff paid for and more financially secure, we'll have more time to leisurely go out and buy more comics and do more videos and stuff.
Yeah, or maybe just another person to cover all the things we don't.
But in happier news, you were talking about this. Batman White Knight has been expanded to 8 issues from the original 6 issues that were proposed.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been reading this. I haven't, but I know the premise is basically Joker has been reformed to some extent.
He's rehabilitated.
And he's trying to get elected to city council or something, And Batman, as Bruce Wayne, is trying to figure out what's going on. Is there something nefarious here? And keeping his eye on him and probably trying to prevent him from getting there. But
yeah. This is what I like to call a complete flipping of the script. Instead of it being focused on Batman dealing with the Joker, this one is focused on the man who used to be the Joker dealing with Batman from a perspective of, and pardon me for using a meme, but from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. That's kind of what I'm getting from this. Is like, this is the Joker is no longer the Joker. They actually use the real name that they came up for the Joker from like the Tim Burton Batman.
Really?
Yeah, that like he is literally called Jack Napier. Like, Which,
Okay.
cool,
I guess.
Three names.
That'll
be one of them.
Yeah, if you're gonna pick one, I'd prefer the Jack Napier over the Red Hood version.
Yeah.
Or the Gotham version.
No one. I am never going to call the Joker Jerome. Anyway, basic premise is what happens when we have a reformed Joker trying to basically put Batman behind bars because he thinks what Batman's doing is wrong and evil, which first hearing that concept, I was like, what? No. But then I thought about it, and the thought popped into my mind. What would it look like for someone who's been repeatedly punched in the face by a guy in a bat costume to suddenly actually come to his senses and maybe think that he should put a stop to a guy in a bat costume running around and punching people in the face?
Yeah. It's a cool concept, and I think it's pretty neat. I know we had other things that kind of skirted these lines. Like, I know Batman and Joker have had to team up a few times for just different stories. Like, I think it was Batman and Europa.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to solve something in France, and, they had the Joker specific volume comic where it was just the perspective of one of the henchmen after Joker has been released for being reformed, and then obviously it goes back to being the Joker.
Right. There's actually I just remembered something else I had read. It was a Batman story arc called the War of Jokes and Riddles. Just I'm not sure if this was
Is
New
this the
52.
newer one?
I'm not sure if this was New 52 or if this is Rebirth.
I'm pretty sure it's the new Rebirth one.
Yeah.
I don't know if they finished it, but it was going on for a while.
Yeah. The Batman has something to ask Catwoman, but before he can, he needs to come clean about something from his past. And this is a proto-Joker, proto-Riddler story. This is we're going to give these two characters an even deeper backstory of what they were doing before they get into their main shtick.
Yeah.
Which it definitely gave me a different lens to view the Joker through.
Yeah, well, you know how I feel about Joker origins. The more mysterious and vague, the better.
Fortunately for that story, this wasn't before his face went white and his lips got dyed red. This was just after this is happening. What does he do in his first few outings as the Joker? And what he does and what the Riddler does is some of the most not horrifying, probably disturbing, specifically for the Joker, but terrifying for the Riddler, because if someone like that existed in real life, I don't know if any kind of law enforcement would be able to put a stop to this guy.
Yeah. Well, he's smarter than you, and he knows it. And that's the fun of Riddler.
Yes, it is. But, it's another take on the Joker in the White Knight that kind of made me think of all that.
So, that, my friends, is the news.
So, Chris, what books are we going to be hitting this week?
Well, Emery, I thought you'd never ask. Up first, from Marvel. Forgive me, my throat's hurting, so I might stop for a second. We have All New Guardians of the Galaxy, number 12, with Deadpool on the front. I don't understand what he's doing with the Guardians, but he's there.
Yeah, let's throw him in a book.
We have Black Panther Prelude, number 1. We have Cable, number 150, Legacy. We have Champions, number 13, Legacy. We have Deadpool versus Old Man Logan, number 1.
Throw him in another book.
We have Doctor Strange, number 26. We have Generation X, number 7, Catfight.
All right, can we stop for a second and talk about this cover for Doctor Strange?
He's looking a little ragged.
He looked like he got into a boxing match, not just a fist fight, a boxing match. Which I don't know. Again, if we forgot how to write a Doctor Strange story, but he's supposed to be magical,
and he's also supposed to have broken hands. So
yeah,
I feel like you're not going to be punching people too hard with messed up hands that shake.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking here, or if that doesn't really represent what's in the issue, but
yeah, it's just an artist doing what he wants.
Yeah, it's like, it looks cool, but
that's what variants are for, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's fist fighting with somebody.
Maybe.
Let's see here. We have Invincible Iron Man, number 593, Legacy. We have Journey to Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Captain Phasma, number 4. These Star Wars books, man.
It keeps happening.
Shorten the name. We have Luke Cage, number 166, Legacy. We have Monsters Unleashed, still going, number 7, Legacy.
Still happening.
We have Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, number 5. We have Secret Warriors, number 7. We have Spider-Gwen, number 25, Legacy. We have Star Wars, Poe Dameron, number 20. We have The Incredible Hulk, number 709, Legacy.
Hey.
We have The Mighty Thor, number 700, Legacy. We have Venom, number 156, Legacy. And finally, we have X-Men Gold, number 14, Legacy, with a pretty baller Magneto on the cover.
If you can count on him for one thing.
From DC Comics, we have Aquaman, number 29. We have Batman, number 33, featuring Desert Bat on a horse. We have Batman the Drowned, number 1. Basically, Aquabat.
Aquabat.
We have
Bat.
Batwoman, number 8. We have Bombshells United, number 4. We have Future Quest Showcase, number 3. Space Ghost Coast to Coast. We have Green Arrow, number 33. We have Green Lanterns, number 33. We have Harley Quinn, number 30. We have Injustice 2, number 12. We have Justice League, number 31. We have Mad Magazine, number 548. We have Nightwing, number 31.
Hey!
Yeah. We have Super Sons, number 9. We have Superman, number 33. We have Teen Titans Go, number 24.
My secret favorite.
We have The Wildstorm, number 8. Read it, because Grifter is awesome.
Yes, please read Wildstorm. Oh my god, it's so good.
We have Titans, number 16. We have Trinity, number 14. We have Wonder Woman / Conan, number 2. From IDW, we have... Man, there's a lot of variants. There's a lot of variants. Come on, IDW. Give me something other than variants.
Tell me they made something.
They made a lot of variants. That's what they made. All right.
All right.
IDW has failed this week. From Image Comics, we have Bitch Planet triple feature number 5.
Hey.
It seems like they're always on this list. We have Genius Cartel number 3. We have Invincible, number 141.
Oh, yeah. Still on track.
We have Kill or Be Killed, number 13.
Hey.
We have Maestros, number 1. We have Mage, the Hero Denied, number 3. We have Savage Dragon, number 227.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
We have variants. That's
okay.
it.
That's it?
For Image. From Dynamite Entertainment, we have variants. Justice Inc., Faces of Justice, number 3. Justice. We have The Dresden Files, Dogmen, number 5. We have Vampirella's variants, whatever.
Of which there are many.
Next up. Oh my God. All these variants from these companies, man. From Boom Studios, we have Adventure Time Comics number 16. We have Bill and Ted Save the Universe number 5. We have Kong, Gods of Skull Island number 1. We have Lumberjanes number 43. We have Misfit City number 6. We have Rugrats. Rugrats number 1. We have
No regrets.
Yeah, I could have pronounced that a little better. That's all from Boom. From Dark Horse Comics, we have Department H, number 19. We have Halo, Rise of Atriox, number 3. We have Sherlock Frankenstein and the Legion of Evil, number 1.
Didn't know that was a thing.
From Valiant, we have variants. From Archie Comics, we have Archie and Me Comics Digest number 1. From Aftershock Comics, we have Animosity number 10. And that might see it. Vertigo, we have Astro City number 48. It's always good to see a Vertigo book. It makes me happy inside. So I feel like I never see them. I guess the relaunch is coming, though.
It's happening.
And that is everything coming to your local comic book shops this week.
Support your local comic book shops.
And digital devices this week. And now it's time to hand out the prestigious, nay life-changing, award of cover and variant cover of the week. Intriguing.
Let's see what we got. And drum roll.
For cover of the week, we have Maestros number 1 by 2 people. Dave Stewart and Steve, I'll say Scroce or Scroce. Skroce.
Scratch.
It's nice that they have 2 artists on there. I don't know if one's a colorist or if they actually did 2 parts and put them together. But it looks pretty cool. It's pretty trippy. He's got a big monster on there. There's a bunch of illusionary things within the background that's kind of plays with your eyes a little bit.
Yeah, you could see a galaxy being reflected off of someone's back.
And the most important thing, it's not Marvel or DC this week.
Hey!
It's an Image comic. So, great job, guys. Your cover looks awesome. You should feel awesome.
Yeah,
and
good on you.
I hope to see more of you guys in the future.
Yes, please, more of this.
Next up, our variant cover of the week. From DC Comics, we have Batwoman number 8 variant by Michael Cho. And this one just kind of has the typical Batwoman noir, red, white, and black display. And defining shapes. It looks a lot like those old detective cover movies and stuff from the 50s and 60s and stuff.
Always have a soft spot for that kind of style.
Yeah, I've been wanting to give it to Batwoman for several weeks, and each because they've had several great variants. But this one, I think, finally deserved it more than the other variants. So we are glad to hand it out. Great job by Michael Cho and our friends at DC Comics.
Good on you.
And that, for our new friends out there, this is the part of the show where we each discuss a topic of our choosing about the world of comics. Feel free to join in the comments section or to tweet at us on Twitter. Emery, what's your topic?
Yeah. So the topic that I had for today is what makes a character great. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and
I feel like we always touch on this issue, but
I think we've touched
never
on
addressed it directly, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's about time. I think in reading Mr. Miracle in particular, it's kind of highlighted to me one of the various things that can make a character great. And I think it's about time we get into that.
All right. So for you, Emery, what makes a character great? And what would be an example?
The thing that makes a character great, for me, personally, is the struggle. Hashtag the struggle is real.
Is fighting with your owner a struggle? For example, the current DC movies. For example, being placed on the digital streaming app exclusively.
Yeah, that's an uphill battle.
I'd call that a struggle.
Yeah, if they make it out of that alive, that will be mighty heroic. Well,
jokes aside,
from Marvel, one of the most famous characters that showcases the struggle is Spider-Man. Spider-Man...
Both of them? Which one? Ben Reilly?
Peter Parker.
Okay.
Spider-Man, not Kid Arachnid or Spider-Boy or Spider-Lad or any of the other things that I'm going to call Miles Morales.
Or the many clones.
Yeah, or any of the many clones. Clone Saga Ben Reilly, I'm looking at you. And also Scarlet Spider Kane, I'm looking at you too.
Or Doc Ock Spider-Man.
Or Doc... that was still Peter Parker. He was just possessed. Thank you, Dan Slott.
I refuse to acknowledge this. The book was good. The idea was dumb.
It was dumb and you should feel dumb. So back to the Peter Parker that counts. Peter Parker, since his inception, has been a character when he's not defined by his battles whilst wearing tights. He is defined by his struggle in what passes for the real world over there. He was a kid who lost his parents. He was a kid who was living in Queens, bullied, picked on,
broke.
Yeah, he was all of those things, and he was poor.
Blamed himself for the death of his uncle.
Yeah,
that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, it's the time when he first gets his powers, he does what any sane person would do and try to use that as a form of making money because he's poor.
Is partially responsible for the death of the woman he loved. Just gets worse.
Oh, it gets worse.
As in, he had a direct hand in it.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
When you are not only blaming yourself for inaction and the death of your uncle, but you also had a physical
direct
participation in the death of the person you love.
Wrong, Stacy died.
Yeah.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts so deep. Spider-Man has a personal struggle that
his best friend is a tool.
Oh,
tries to kill him.
His best friend is more than a tool. His best friend has been a turbo douche secretly from day one.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, like, not just being inactive and letting a criminal get away with something that you could have stopped and having that result in losing your uncle, and then trying to save your girlfriend from falling a ridiculous height, but because of your inexperience with how physics works, you inadvertently end up snapping your girlfriend's neck. Yeah, it's like from there, let's add, okay, we're going to give him a girlfriend, but we're going to have that be like off and on, like will they, won't they, for decades. We're going to have his professional career also give birth to his greatest villain. Well, I'm going to say second greatest. First will always be Green Goblin. Like his mirror opposite, his, for lack of a better phrase, like the ink-stained version.
And then you have his high school bully becoming a jacked up alien symbiote monster who can now bully him in the superhero world as well as the high school world. You gotta wonder how much psychological trauma that causes. That your high school bully follows you into your secret superhero adulthood. Granted, he becomes kind of a good guy eventually, but
right, surfing in Iraq will do that. Apparently,
it didn't start that way, though.
No. Things are. It's like, oh, I bullied him. Guess who also bullied him? An alien goop thing that also like bonds to people. This is gonna be a match made in heaven.
Yeah. Poor kid. Discussing this is making me feel bad for Peter Parker.
It's like it gets worse.
Oh.
It gets worse.
Oh.
When I say it gets worse, I mean one more day. For those of you who haven't read One More Day, don't. Also,
don't.
The reason I say don't is because I'm going to spoil it for you because it is probably one of the most painful things I've ever had to read in my life.
How old is it now?
That is like 7 years.
Yeah, you've had time. That's
you, like people have had time to
you can close
recover
your ears
from
for
this.
5 minutes. We'll be through it.
Yeah. So you know what's worse than losing Uncle Ben? Losing Aunt May to the Kingpin. And then to like put the cherry on top of this shit fudge sundae, we're then going to be offered a deal with the devil. That deal being, you can save Aunt May. It'll just cost this relationship with Mary Jane that you've fought for and maintained for God knows how long, and the daughter that would result of this.
Aunt May's lived a good long life.
Those were my words. Guess what he chose?
Oh, we are not surprised what he chose.
No, not at all.
Because, let's be honest, he doesn't fucking give a shit about MJ. She's the cheap replacement of Gwen Stacy.
Cheap replacement when he already
even though she's way hotter.
Yeah, it's like she has way hotter. Like she is way hotter. But Peter Parker also has a lady in waiting, I will call Black Cat.
Yeah. There's a little of everybody.
Yeah, Carly Cooper for like a short bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's had it rough. He's had some minor victories, but most of his life is kind of a shit show.
Yeah, there's another character that I think is also made great, not only for his, kind of power or whatever, but also for the multitude of struggles he has had to endure. And when I say multitude, I mean hundreds of years worth of struggle and probably more into the future. Wolverine. This is a man who has been tortured and used and murdered more or less his entire life. He has been hunted on his birthday every year by Sabretooth. He has had not one, but several governments experiment on him, including the U.S., Canada, and Russia.
Yeah.
He has had his bones melded to adamantium, an indestructible metal, that weigh him down and slowly kill him in some instances.
Adamantium is, while sounding really awesome in that, like, once it cools, it's unbreakable, it's still a foreign object inside the human body.
Which means his body is constantly attacking it and causing him great pain. His bones can no longer flex like a normal human being, and I imagine that causes great pain. His body is shrunk by the process because it weighs so much.
It's a wonder why he doesn't do harder things than, drink.
Yeah. Which he can't even feel more often than not because his body processes it so quickly and repairs his livers.
I mean, for Captain America, not being able to get drunk is cheeky and fun. For Wolverine, given what he is, it's sad and tragic.
And we can talk about Spider-Man having had a physical hand in killing the woman he loved. But Wolverine has literally killed his entire offspring in one instance, in one battle. Killed every single child that he had at the time. Unintentionally being tricked into murdering every child. He has lost every woman he has ever loved.
It hurts.
To an outrageous extent.
And when he doesn't lose them, they become like one of his worst enemies.
He has endured having the adamantium stripped from his bones by Magneto. He has died in several different iterations. Usually from a Sentinel or from Magneto or something similar.
Yeah.
He has had to deal with his offspring and his pseudo clones wanting to kill him and having to basically babysit these fucks into his later years. He is constantly getting his ass attacked by Hulk or some other large entity simply because he can take the abuse.
The Hulk is rampaging in I don't know, the Great White North, like Yukon territory where like no one lives. How are we going to handle this? Throw the Wolverine at it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the fact that he has been through just about every major conflict over the past century, including World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the Korean War. He has been all over the place.
Yeah,
being murdered and shot and gassed and stabbed.
It is like he has been through so many things that would kill a normal man.
And it's one thing to say, okay, he doesn't fear it because he probably won't die, but that's a lot of pain to go through. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of suffering. That's a lot of people he has outlived.
He doesn't get numb to it. Like his brain, not his brain, his body and also his brain regenerate to the point where popping his claws, that thing that looks really cool all of the time.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine...
It causes him immense pain.
Imagine breaking a bone to the point where that bone has somehow pierced through your skin. That's basically what that is.
3 times.
3 times.
Between your knuckles.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
Yeah, this is actually kind of the most emo character I've ever heard of when we put it in those terms. Is like, and all of this is like he does it because he doesn't care. It's like everything's dark, everything's shit.
Yeah.
It's like I was in love once, which fun fact, Jean Grey was not his first redhead.
Yeah.
There's one from his childhood that let's just say falls into type.
Yeah. So if we're going to be talking about characters suffering, Spider-Man is definitely a big candidate, but I think Wolverine is just as big, if not much bigger, because he's had to endure over 100 years of it.
Yeah, like by default, Wolverine kind of takes the cake when it comes to like which one suffers worse.
Yeah, and then he always has to deal with the douchebaggery that is Cyclops. So because Cyclops is a dick, and nobody can convince me otherwise.
Oh my god, Cyclops
is a dick.
Is not a dick on purpose.
Dick. Oh, he's a dick on purpose. He's natural like, made to be a dick.
Okay, I'm going to defend Cyclops.
You're wasting your time.
Till the day I die. He actually had recently a really good solo series. Mind you,
with Space Dad?
With Space Dad. Yeah. Corsair, because that's a name we actually choose for ourselves.
Because everybody needs a Space Dad, apparently.
Space Dad, Space Pirate Dad.
Yeah.
Is like, imagine
sounds really familiar.
Yeah, imagine your dad was like a 70s swinger type that for some reason looks like George Michael from Wham, but gallivants across the galaxy like he's Space Captain Jack Sparrow.
Does he have the lipstick too?
He might. Like what happens in space stays in space, unless you're the Phoenix.
Drag is totally cool in space. Yeah, so those are 2 big candidates. I mean, the obvious ones you can point to basically Batman, having the trauma of watching his parents be murdered in front of him, but then also inheriting $1 billion in a huge corporation and the best education money can buy, and a loving guardian and Alfred, and...
okay, he loses his parents in a very tragic way, but he has a lot to fall back on.
So, granted, you can't really overcome like that type of mental trauma as a person that has, seen a parent dead. I can tell you that sticks with you for a long time. But I mean, he literally has no other worries in the world that he doesn't create for himself.
That's true. Like every other bad thing that happens to him from that point on, it's something that he chose.
Always something he chose, got himself into, even with like the woman that he always tortures himself that he can't be with them because he doesn't want to put them at risk, and he can't draw away from his obsession. It's his fault. It has nothing to do with them,
because he's Batman.
But it does give him that added dimension. Even most of the Robins have something similar, with the exception of maybe Damian Wayne. And his douchebaggery shows because of it.
Actually, Tim Drake, like the person who...
His parents were bums, but they were there.
I
guess.
I mean... his dad was there. Like, I don't know what happened to his mom, but I mean, this was a kid who decided to become Robin. Okay, the way that they put it in the story is like he became Robin because he was seeing what Batman was becoming and decided that Batman needs a Robin. Otherwise,
Yeah.
things kind of get real dark around here.
It was something of his own little obsession. He was smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm going to say he became Robin for funsies.
Yeah, that's probably true.
It's
So
like, look
Tim
at what
Drake
I can
is probably
do.
the one that doesn't have like the big struggle, really.
Oh,
He's
yeah, no. It's
Really smart
It's like,
and bored.
it's just like, I bet you I become Robin by next week.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a little bit. Dick Grayson saw his parents killed by, mobsters, basically, that were angry at the owner of the circus or whatever. And then,
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about the whole you grew up in the circus.
Yeah, Jason Todd had an abusive upbringing and then was basically stealing the rims off the Batmobile.
Technically, Jason Todd had 2 bad upbringings.
Oh. We're going there. Oh. Sad Todd. I guess dying once will do that to you, huh?
Yeah.
That's quite a struggle. Death.
He had an upbringing so bad. Not an upbringing so bad. He had a comic book run so bad and so obviously pulled from the previous Robin that there was a vote cast by the fans to kill him.
To murder him.
And
the fans, not the writers, not the publisher, the fans voted to murder a Robin. We voted to murder a teenage boy.
It hurts.
Yeah.
But then they fixed it by giving him a worse upbringing.
Yeah. And even like with the iconic like Superman, you have his people are all dead with the exception of the random cousin that shows up from time to time.
It's like, I am the last son of Krypton. Hey, wait a minute.
He
what are you doing here?
He grew up on another planet with granted good characters, good parents.
The ultimate immigrant.
In most iterations, his father dies of illness, usually heart attack or something, which adds more depth to his character. He has to pretend to be a human and do a normal human job, even though he has all these powers.
He didn't lose him to a tornado.
He's always struggling. Oh my god! I hate that movie. So stupid. Why do you have to bring that up? Damn it. That's all I can think about.
Natural causes. He died from natural causes.
Yeah.
It's the part of the thing that makes him Superman is that he realizes that
he can't save everybody.
He can't save everyone, no matter how powerful he gets.
He has to deal with this jack-off, Bruce Wayne. That in and of itself is a struggle. But I mean, even a character as big and powerful as him has some kind of struggle. So I think there's definitely something to that saying that having some kind of significant struggle makes the character great.
Oh yeah,
at least contributes to it.
Yeah, it's the one thing that makes the character relatable.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about struggle, I'm assuming this is the same for you. We're not talking about struggling with a particular villain. Oh, I got to face this asshole this week.
Oh, no.
Challenge. We're talking about lives. Your actual life.
Like, this is what happens when we're not beating up on some weirdly dressed asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. The human aspect to it.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, I'm going to go from the really deep thing about a character to the very surface level of a character. Every single one of these characters are weirdly dressed assholes. That includes you, Superman. I don't care how nice you are. It's like, just by virtue of being you, and the fact that like everyone is going to aspire to some impossible standard, that kind of makes you an asshole.
A little bit.
Yeah. I love you, but you're kind of an asshole. Just for existing. But yeah, like costume design. You can go super weird and kind of nonsensical and abstract, like my new favorite, Mr. Miracle. Or you can kind of play to a theme, like Batman. Like when it's not black, it's gray with some black,
purple, blue.
Thank you, Rebirth. Let's add a yellow border.
Purple interior cape.
It'll remind everyone of every form of Batman.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah. Nightwing is like that's an example. It's the black and blue Nightwing.
I think
That's
I like the red.
Red.
I don't hate the blue, obviously. I love the blue, but I like the red a lot.
I would like.
I liked it a lot more before there was a Red Robin and a Red Hood, though.
And I would have liked it had it not been something that reminded me of Batman and Robin. Thank you, Schumacher. Yeah, it's like that. That's an example of keeping it simple.
Yeah,
is like the clear, iconic, like blue or red thing going across the chest, and just the rest of it's black.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about the longevity of a great character in its costume design. I mean, with Superman, there's really not much you can do. I mean, the biggest change, the biggest change they've made is like the cape over the shoulders, cape behind the shoulders, and the underwear inside the pants, outside the pants.
Oh, you're forgetting the 90s, sir.
Oh yeah, the mullet, and then the super blue and super red, and there's so many different goofy forms.
Superman with electric feels.
Yeah, Wonder Woman had the curls, the big perm. Perm Wonder Woman.
I
think there is something to be said about having a forward-thinking outfit. I think a lot of people always look at Wonder Woman and Superman as a little bit corny, even if they love them.
Like, who would really wear that?
Because
besides a nut?
Yeah, because these outfits were, meant for kids in the 30s, 40s, 50s,
Yeah,
they weren't meant to be taken seriously, but now they're in very serious adult contexts in a lot of cases, and they do come off as a little goofy and silly, and there really isn't much getting around that. But other characters like Nightwing, like Gambit,
yeah,
they have very simple uniforms that will probably last for a while, that can be altered very little by little to make them more relatable.
I will say, in reference to Gambit, his more recent costumes are probably the simplest they've ever gone with him. Otherwise, anyone who remembers him from the 90s will remember that Gambit probably had one of the busiest costumes ever.
Well, I mean, we had Disco Nightwing too, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was pretty awful. Where
he had the popped collar and like yellow,
the deep V. That was pretty horrible.
Okay, that one.
I'm glad they had the foresight to change it, because that would not have lasted well into the future.
Yeah, they tried to give that a pass by saying, "Oh, that's his costume from when he was like one of the Flying Graysons."
Yeah, because that'll keep your secret identity. Wearing the uniform.
Wait a
of
minute.
The Flying Graysons, when you are the lone surviving Flying Grayson.
I've been to that circus.
It's almost as dumb as wearing a big G on your chest. Tom King, I'm looking at you. You're Grayson.
Tom King, don't ever do Grayson again. But Tom King, please keep doing Mr. Miracle.
Yeah.
This is where you belong.
But there's again, Grayson was a good book. I hated the concept.
It should have been someone else.
Yeah.
Grifter again.
Another character with a simple and cool costume. It's literally just a face bandana with eyes and an outfit. That's it.
Yeah. Let's go with that, please.
But yeah, there's definitely something to be said about the longevity of the outfit. If you have a really goofy, over the top uniform, it's probably not going to last very long, or at least it'll be more difficult for people to approach it. But when you have that iconic status like a Wonder Woman, like a Superman, it's really hard to leave it behind,
Right.
It's really hard
no
to
matter
abandon
how much
it,
they try sometimes.
because you're just going to get nothing but hate. I thought what they did in Action Comics for the New 52 launch was kind of cool. They went back to an earlier stage of Superman before he had the big Kryptonian suit or however they wanted to justify it.
Yeah, giving him
he literally
a
wore
shirt and pants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He wore a t-shirt
Yeah.
and pants, and it had the Superman logo on it.
Yeah,
And it looked cool.
I actually kind of dug that because it made me think this is a guy who was raised by a couple of farmhands.
Yeah.
And like he decided to become a hero, but keep it simple.
Yeah.
And by keep it simple, I mean he just took some clothes and put an S on his chest.
Yeah. And they brought it back later in the New 52 towards the end when in the regular Superman where I think he kind of like lost his powers or something temporarily.
Oh,
And
well,
he just started wearing the t-shirt and stuff.
He hilariously gained a new power, and because he used that new power,
he lost the rest. Yeah,
he lost the rest for
he used solar flare.
he solar flared or nuclear bombed, and then just like, oh, that drains all of my power.
If Krillin can do it, you can do it, you douche.
You're Superman. You, by default, should be able to do that move more than once. Is like you are literally soaking up the sun at all times, sir.
So, yeah, I totally agree. There's something to be said about costume. For me, some characters actually lose a lot of points because of their costume. Prior to this series, Mr. Miracle was at the top of the list. And basically everybody included in the High Father group,
Yeah.
Orion was kind of cool because he had like the war helmet and stuff, but Barda with the giant like U thing and the boobs hanging out, and that was kind of stupid. And then Mr. Miracle with the full bodysuit with a cape up above his head, kind of goofy. I give Doctor Strange the same issues because again he's just got the big goofy cape that goes way over his head. Looks straight out of the issues from the 1950s,
like,
60s.
Capes do not work this way. Good night.
Yeah, I think you can update character costumes to keep them relevant, or at least when you create them, have the foresight to be like, okay, we need to make this adjustable. Which Superman is really not. It's hard to adjust that without angering everybody.
Yeah, that always ire from the hardcore.
Yeah.
There's something about that popped collar on the cape. It's just like, how?
Disco wing with the popped collar,
like,
even,
Just how? It's like, it'd be one thing if it like came up to their cheek.
Yeah.
If it came up to their cheek, that would be one thing. But above your head?
Yeah, it's just a little excessive. I don't know.
Yeah,
it just looks goofy, and yeah, there's a lot of characters like that. Yeah, both in Marvel and DC. And I just wish in like modern times they would tone it down just a little bit, especially for new characters.
Yeah, I say that, but I thought of Spawn.
Spawn is a demon. It's a little different.
Spawn is a little different.
He's a demon with a demon cape that manifests itself,
like
in different forms and stuff.
It's a living cape.
Okay.
Technically, so is the cloak of levitation. Thank you, Doctor Strange. With that being said, I would have hoped that if, we can see to a living cape having the good sense to not be that high.
We can fold. You're allowed to fold.
Folding is a thing. Let's maybe do a little bit more of that. Spawn, as much as I don't want to say I'm looking at you, I'm kind of looking at you.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
But there is one thing I will say about that. Like things like that, like kind of like goofy things, like without having a cape, Iron Fist at one point managed to have a collar that high.
Yeah, he also had the
Weirdly.
deep V and the big collar, yeah.
Yeah, with lime green tights
Yeah.
and all that kind of nonsense, which
I feel like that's another thing we could probably drift away from. Yeah. Nightwing kind of makes sense. He was a circus performer. It makes sense for him to wear like a leotard or something, you know, with like padding.
yeah.
But when when you're just a guy running around in spandex, you can give him some jeans. Him or her, you know.
Yeah.
The female superheroes don't have to wear a single body bathing suit to every battle. You know, I don't know.
Okay, I say that, or I agree with that, but I would love for that version of Ms. Marvel to come back. Nothing against.
I think they're
Captain
allowed
Marvel.
to. I think they're good having pants. I'm okay with it. I like the eye candy from time to time. I admit it, but it is kind of silly.
Yeah, I get it. It makes more sense, but I miss it.
You have the Wonder Woman from the 90s with the high-waisted single body suit.
Oh, yeah, let's show as much hip as possible.
Yeah, it's just kind of silly. I don't know.
Yeah, this is all basically visual shorthand to let people know this is the character you're looking at. For some reason, we needed to add, like, while most characters had, like, one thing that made it pretty obvious, we had characters like Gambit who had, like, 7 different things going on.
Yeah.
It's like when it wasn't the bright pink chest thing going on, it was the jacket, the gloves, the pants that also had pink stripes on the sides.
Because why not?
Because why not? We're already here. And then knee-high boots.
I mean, there's something to be said about letting artists have their ways with these characters because again, they're comic books. They're meant to be bright and flashy and fun. But
right.
Maybe I'm just being too cynical as an adult, and I will admit, you know, I'll be the first to admit I'm a little cynical when it comes to this stuff. You know, Gambit, you could get away with it because you know there were smaller things that just made it more eye popping, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was
he
like
never had some drastic costume change. I don't think. I don't
know. There was one time when he was a horseman of the apocalypse.
Okay. You got me there.
Yeah. The time when he went that was blackface. It was like he drank this elixir that was given to him by Apocalypse.
He went full Mr. Piccolo.
Mr.
Popo.
It's like he went full Popo.
You never go full Popo.
Like his hair went like stark white, and it's like his face was like completely black, like full Mr. Popo, like charcoal, like blacker than most people's coffee. And then so was the rest of his costume. It was like that was drastic.
So were there any other things that you feel need to be
that
in
make
a character great? Yeah.
A really good villain.
Yeah, that's usually a must.
Yeah.
You need at least one. Some characters have none.
Yeah.
Or they just frequently borrow from another character. I'm looking at you, DC, borrowing Batman's villains constantly. Let's face it.
What happens in Gotham should stay in Gotham.
Yeah. So, yeah, the villain is probably... I would say is probably like the second most important after their daily struggle, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Or their daily human trait, you know?
Yeah. And that's one thing that can actually be kind of messed with is it's common to make their antagonist a person, like a physical person.
Yeah.
With characters like Gambit, For him, it's mostly the law. Because he keeps breaking it.
Seems to be a pattern.
Yeah. With Iron Man, it was alcoholism.
Well, that was his best villain. Speaking of characters that don't have longevity, the Mandarin.
Oh, it hurts.
So racist. So racist.
Oh, yeah, that was a sign of the times. Like when you come up with a main villain for a character that is a complete embodiment of like the Red Scare. Like, did we really just make a communist Asian wizard?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, we did.
Ancient Chinese secrets?
Yeah. It happened. It's a real thing.
Like in the comics, they tried to maybe go back on that by making him like a black market weapons dealer,
Which is way more cool.
Yeah, like let's stick to that. Maybe never call him the Mandarin again.
I mean, if he's from, Mandarin China, fine.
I
And he's like some gang, arms dealer from the Mandarin parts of China. Great.
Okay.
If he's a mystical, suspicious, random Asian man.
If he's basically David Lopan from Big Trouble in Little
drawn
China.
in a very stereotypical fashion.
Yeah, so we're talking weird hi-hat, the Fu Manchu that no one actually wore on their face.
Yeah.
Like long robes and spouting magics. Knowing ancient Chinese secrets again.
It's a little more stereotypical.
Oh, it was so bad.
Son of the times.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
He lasted way longer than he should have.
right. But one that, in a lot of ways, both does and doesn't stand the test of time at the same time, weirdly. Captain America and the Red Skull.
Yeah, I feel like you'll always defend him, but I never thought Red Skull was really cool, at least in present day.
Yeah.
When he's in the past, I like him. When he's in the present, I'm always just like, why?
Right.
You don't need him.
The Red Skull you don't need, but as with any good villain, the only time they're actually made to be really good is if the writer knows what the hell to do with them.
Yeah.
Which, the most recent thing that I remember about the Red Skull is that he most recently, after somehow getting both the Cosmic Cube and implanting himself with parts of the brain of Charles Xavier, managed to turn Captain America into a Nazi.
I refuse to even acknowledge this storyline. It's so stupid.
It's so bad.
I don't know. To go back to our original premise of like interesting villains contributing to great lasting characters, just to name a few examples, we have obviously most of Batman's rogues gallery there with Joker, Riddler, you name it, Clayface, and
Joker, Riddler, Two-Face, Clayface,
yeah,
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze is a big one, yeah. I mean, there's just so many with Batman. Then with Wolverine, you have Sabretooth. With the X-Men in general, you have Magneto.
Yeah. Fantastic Four had Dr. Doom.
Which is, I don't know. You love Fantastic Four. I do not. And I think a large part of that is because their villains suck, including Dr. Doom, in my opinion.
Dr. Doom...
Just vague foreign guy with random powers. I don't know.
Dr. Doom has exactly one power. And that power is being only second best at everything. Why do you think he's so pissed?
With Spider-Man, you have Venom and Carnage and Doc Ock and Kingpin, which is also villain for Daredevil and Punisher
Right.
to an extent. With, I don't know, Superman, even Superman as goofy as he is and as overpowered as he is, and now as much as his storylines often feature him just punching the problem away, he does have good villains, and the conflicts he does have with Darkseid from time to time. He does have good villain in Lex Luthor, who literally uses only his brain to try to outsmart him. I always find it really stupid when Lex puts on a super suit and goes toe-to-toe with him. Like, that's not what Lex Luthor does. You're bad at your job. Stop writing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking Zod.
Yeah, Zod. Zod can be a good character if written well, but I feel like he always becomes the punching bag villain. Brainiac is kind of cool in certain contexts when used properly. With Green Lantern, as long as they're not bringing Parallax back and stuff, you have a really cool conflict with Sinestro. You always have like cool dynamics between the different Lantern Corps.
Yeah.
Particularly when they have to fight or whatever. Black Hand is pretty cool. I mean, I think one of the things that hurts Flash in particular is that his villains, again, are just like copies of himself. It's like we have Flash or Reverse Flash. We have Flash or the ones who aren't copies are ridiculous, like Captain Boomerang, Mirror Master, just
it's like absolutely
Weather
absurd.
Wizard. These
like,
characters that don't belong in modern day.
It's like the Trickster.
Yeah, that was a nice Mark Hamill you did there.
I try. Yeah. The Flash has always suffered in the villain department because, like, they tried to come up with something wacky and goofy for the Flash to come up with a different way to use his speed.
Yeah,
which, if there's one thing that I've noticed about the way that DC handled like its bigger heroes, specifically Superman, Batman, and the Flash, is that there's always something. There's always something that they have in like their back pocket, or something new about themselves that they discover that, this'll do it.
I can change time. I'll just run faster and solve the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
I'll punch harder and solve the problem. Batman actually has some ridiculous plan. I have this gadget in my belt that I've been saving for this one specific occasion.
Oh, God. Golden Age Superman. There's a giant asteroid made completely of kryptonite. I will make a mini-me to kill it? I'm going to make a mini-me. He's going to die in the process, but it's fine because he's not a real person.
Even that
shit.
Return of Superman, his solution to preventing this giant landmass from crashing into the Earth that is filled with kryptonite is to push it. He
just hold on.
Overpowers the sickness.
As I slowly die.
I don't know. There's some lazy writing out there for sure. But there are, for most of these, the most great and iconic characters, they have that core villain, that at least one villain, if not several, that contribute to them being a great character.
Yeah.
And there are characters that are significantly hurt in their legacy by not only like an outdated suit or an outdated name, but also in that their villains are just
villains are weak and garbage.
Not good. Yeah.
It's like for Iron Man, dude with a suit. Another dude with a suit.
Yeah.
An Asian man with ancient Chinese magics. Okay, another dude with a suit. God damn it.
Yeah. I think another character, probably two characters, that are really hurt by this, and I think a lot of DC characters are hurt by this when they don't just take a Batman character.
Right.
Aquaman.
Oh.
What they did in New 52 to give the basis for Black Manta was good. But again, you're fighting a dude with a big, wide-shaped scuba suit against a man who can withstand the pressure of the bottom of the sea and can lift a skyscraper and take bullets to the face without even flinching.
Like, he should literally be able to punch him once and just be done with him.
A random guy in a scuba suit and a trident and a spear gun. And it just doesn't fit. And, then you have, if you want to go the royal route, which is to me the equivalent of space, somebody's.
Right.
You have his brother Norm, who's Ocean Master. Initially being interesting because he sees himself as the true inheritor of the throne.
Yeah.
Versus his half brother. But then once that's concluded, he's just a guy. He's just another ocean guy.
He's like, under the sea.
Yeah.
There isn't much we can do.
I think Aquaman is most interesting when he's on land, when he's...
That's literally the one thing that actually makes him interesting. It's like,
when he's trying to be human, much like Superman, Superman is not interesting to me when he's out in space using everything as a punching bag.
Like, I'm going to solve all of these space problems. Wait, don't we have a police force specifically for that issue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I thought it was just
admittedly,
me.
it's hard to make a water-based, super villain. But I think it would be more interesting if there was a non-water-based super villain for Aquaman that challenged him on a level he hasn't been challenged,
Right. Like, and not Superman. Aquaman would actually be infinitely more interesting if he was exiled from the sea.
Yeah, and then you have Wonder Woman, who has the same problem that Superman has, in that she's basically invincible.
She punches her way out of things.
She's even more so an issue because she doesn't have a weakness to exploit. She's got these unbreakable bracers. She's got the lasso that's unbreakable. She's super fast. She can fly. She's super strong. She can go toe-to-toe with Superman. Unless you're going against Martian Manhunter, there's really nothing you can do against her.
There is maybe one thing that you could do.
I mean,
and that's confuse her.
But then she just goes on a murderous rampage and solves the problem.
I don't get things. Thank you, movie.
Yeah. But I think Wonder Woman's another character that, in addition to being kind of outdated in uniform and kind of, dealing with these Greek gods in a world that clearly has other gods.
Yeah.
It's weird and kind of inconsistent. And usually what happens in her individual books is she either has a soap opera moment with the Greek gods, at least the one she hasn't killed yet, because she's basically Kratos, and
that is actually something that they should do with that character,
and which they have done.
I mean, in the movies, like instead of making Batman bloodthirsty, they should have saved that for Wonder Woman.
Because she actually is.
Yeah.
And
that
I mean,
makes sense for her.
That's always the most interesting Elseworld stuff for me. Like what they did with Flashpoint with Wonder Woman and Aquaman.
Yeah.
And the story revolving around them. I mean, everybody knows, but I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to read it if you haven't.
Yeah.
But what they do with those two characters is awesome. And I love how they handled her, because that is the Wonder Woman I have always imagined. This woman who grew up in a warrior race that has all these powers and feels her need to assert her dominance over this population,
Like her
and is sick of their shit and just decides to do her own thing,
Yeah, her very clear dominance over the rest of man, which it would make sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense for her to do that.
I will give this to Marvel, with the exception of competing with Batman characters. They do usually have very interesting villains.
Yeah.
At least for the X-Men, Spider-Man, and obviously the X-Men have so many people. So, so that makes up a big plethora of characters, to draw from. Is there any other examples you can really think of?
I was trying to think of one.
Running low on time.
Yeah. No, that's pretty much it for me.
All right, well, without further ado, let's get into the next topic. For me, I just wanted to quickly discuss our favorite incarnations of Robin. Which one is your favorite? Why is he your favorite, or she? And which one would you want alongside you?
If I were Batman.
If you were Batman.
Okay. I think, personally, I'm not sure how obvious this is going to be, but when you look at all of them, of which there are like 6?
Yeah, I mean, we can go through them real fast. We have, obviously, Dick Grayson is the first. We have Jason Todd. We have Tim Drake. We have the son,
Damian.
Damian Wayne. We have, briefly, Stephanie Brown. We I think Huntress was briefly a Robin in one storyline. And then we have Carrie Kelly.
Carrie Kelly, that's right.
That's the one. I can't think of any other ones. Are there any other ones you can really think of?
Oh, there's that group that went by the name the Robins.
Yeah, I'm not going to include those assholes. There's a bunch of teenagers that went around beating the shit out of people.
Just because you wear the R, just because you wear the R does not make you a Robin. With that said, Carrie Kelly is out because anyone who chooses the booty shorts on purpose really doesn't know, like...
So you're going to get rid of Dick Grayson? His scaled underwear?
Okay, he wore the scaled underwear for a short period of time. Okay, it wasn't a short period of time, but they've gone back and said, like, we give him pants.
He punched Green Lantern in the throat after spraying him with yellow paint.
Thank you, Frank Miller. Yeah, he nearly killed Hal Jordan, like, barehanded. My God. That's
the real reason why he and Damian Wayne are such good friends. Because I did the same shit.
Yeah, neck chop.
It's courtesy of Captain Insano.
Yeah, honestly, it's gonna be a fight for me between, like, the main 3. The first 3.
So we got Dick, Jason, and Tim?
Yeah, Dick, Jason, and Tim. Dick didn't really have much of a choice since, like, he was immediately adopted by Bruce Wayne, like, right after losing his parents in the circus.
Yeah.
Jason Todd, no matter which backstory you're going with for him, he also didn't really have much of a choice, given his circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, on the other hand, actively chose this and also actively went against Bruce Wayne's wishes after it had been made very clear that he had discovered Bruce Wayne was Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I would choose Tim, specifically because of his detective skills, which you can teach anyone martial arts up to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
You can teach anyone any of the other skills that any of the Robins have had to learn. Being a detective, not even Dick Grayson, who, like, for him, that was all learned. Tim, it came naturally. Like, for the natural detective, I'm going to pick Tim. He'd be the one that I would pick. Also, he fought for that position as opposed to just being kind of inducted, as it were.
That's true. For me, I don't want to go directly to the character that everybody expects of me, but I'm going to go to him. I rule out Stephanie Brown because she was fired for literally being terrible at the job. I discount Huntress because Huntress was too bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
Damian Wayne still had that problem, but the dynamic that gave him something interesting was both Dick Grayson as Batman and Bruce Wayne as Batman, trying to pull him away from that sort of upbringing that he had experienced where he had to be bloodthirsty. And so I think that adds to his character and makes him really interesting. And most iterations, I hate the Batman Inc. iteration of him.
Oh.
The one where they killed him.
Oh.
Spoilers for a New 52 arc that doesn't matter because they brought him back.
Yeah.
But it was... the way that I can't remember who wrote it. I think it was Grant Morrison that wrote that one. That was the worst version of him but in the other iterations like Batman and Son and those iterations, I really liked how Damian was handled, especially later when he became more of a sympathetic character and became more indoctrinated into the family.
Yeah.
But I discount him because, again, he is bloodthirsty, much like Huntress, and I think he has too many kind of murder skills coming into the job that makes him kind of uncontrollable, and you never really know what you're going to get with him. And he's kind of an asshole like Jason Todd, which is why I'm getting rid of Jason Todd. Carrie Kelly is interesting because she's another one that kind of sought out the job, but I think that was kind of silly because she was so young and so small and really didn't contribute anything.
And Batman was already really old.
He's really old and beastly, and I just artistically it was kind of cool, but I never really liked the Carrie Kelly version, especially wearing the big glasses and stuff. I mean, not that a superhero can't wear glasses, but I feel like if you're in a fight you're worried about your glasses falling off, like Daphne or something. Or is it Velma?
Velma. Yeah, it's Velma.
Yeah. Velma, you're kind of defunct as a superhero.
Yeah,
so you get contact lenses or something.
Yeah, either get contact lenses or actually just commit to being Velma from Scooby-Doo.
So similar to you, I do come down to either Tim Drake or Dick Grayson. For me, I have to go with Dick Grayson. He gets points for being the original. Obviously, as the first Robin to actually stand his ground and leave of his own accord, as opposed to being fired or killed. I see him as a better individual character after being Robin, but as Robin, I still see him as the superior Robin because he wasn't basically replacing Batman in that role. When you had Tim Drake, he essentially took away a lot of the things that made Batman interesting.
Yeah.
So Tim started doing all the detective work and all the introspection and all that sort of thing. And again, Tim really doesn't have much of a struggle. He just kind of showed up, figured it out. He's smart, he's intelligent, he's a capable fighter. He can stand toe-to-toe with any of the Robins in many accounts. But I just didn't see him as like a particularly interesting Robin, and I felt that he took away more from Batman than he contributed. Whereas with Dick Grayson, the whole point of Dick Grayson was to ground Batman, to give him some kind of emotional proxy for a normal human, for a compassionate human being that wasn't mired in all this dark world. Even though Dick Grayson can be compassionate with Batman about losing your parents and seeing your parents murdered because of a criminal, whether it be a mobster or whether it be, a guy in an alley. Yeah. He has that common interest that unites him with Bruce Wayne as the human and contributes to their dynamic, whereas Bruce Wayne went off in this dark self-hatred direction. Dick Grayson obsessed over finding, the killer, and with the help of Bruce found him and chose the right path, which is not to just outright murder him, and be compassionate and look on the world from a brighter lens and from a different perspective, which eventually caused them to split apart when he became Nightwing and stuff. But I think it adds more of a dynamic to Batman. It gives Batman something that grounds him and something that is compassionate, something he can sympathize with, that contributes to the character of Batman. And I think that's what a good Robin does. I think that's what a good sidekick does. He doesn't take away from the character and absorb the attributes of the character.
He contributes.
Yeah. We all know Dick Grayson is probably the most capable fighters of the Robins. Maybe they'll change with Damian Wayne, but we know that Tim is probably the smartest. We know that Jason is probably the most ruthless.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to the most compassionate and the one that's the best leader and the one that unites people and contributes to other characters the best, I think Dick Grayson is that character.
Yeah. Dick Grayson is definitely all of those things.
Yeah, and I can totally see Tim Drake. Tim Drake has had great arcs. He's obviously super smart, super capable. He has to learn everything. He's very self-dependent, which makes him a cool character, but I think he doesn't contribute quite as much at being Robin as Dick Grayson did and does.
Yeah. I'll say this. Tim, I think, was better at being, like, as far as any of the stories that involve him are concerned, he was better at being the Red Robin. Like, specifically the version of the Red Robin where he's leading the Titans.
See, I even in that regard, I kind of see Tim as inferior to Dick, because I feel like Dick was always a greater leader of the Titans. And I feel like even though Dick had some of these like romantic dynamics, it was always explained by like brain control or something stupid,
Something's wrong with his mind.
Yeah, where he like was in love with Starfire and then married Raven or whatever because his mind was being controlled or something. All those stupid arcs. But with Tim, he was just kind of a dick. He was just kind of a dick to his teammates and was like constantly pissing off his teammates prior to the New 52 launch.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever see him as he was a smart leader. He's a strategic leader, but I didn't see him as like a unifying force as a leader.
Yeah.
And I always see him as kind of pushing his fellow teammates away more than uniting them, which you really can't have. And I guess in that respect, he's a little like Batman, where it's a good thing there's Superman there, because Batman would just push everybody away and make the team fall apart. Brilliant strategist, but just no social skills to speak of,
Yeah, it's like that's actually one of the things that makes specifically Dick Grayson kind of better at some of the job than Batman is.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But again, he's my favorite character. I'm looking at this through rose-colored glasses, but for me, it has to be Dick Grayson. Yes, he gets the bonus points for being the original, but you take that away, and I still think he contributes the most at being Robin. I think Damian Wayne, as time goes on, is getting better and better.
Yeah, the writers are getting a better idea exactly what to do with him.
And it's great seeing him develop from this snotty, murderous child to this kind of,
this kid who's learning how
capable,
to be
adaptive, smart child, or not child, but teenager, under the mantle of his father, who he's still in a way getting to know because, he met his father and then his father died.
It's like,
he was basically raised by, his competition for the mantle,
Yeah.
the person that did get to more or less grow up with Bruce,
right?
Who he sees as, even though he sees him as a brother and a friend, he still kind of has that resentment of Dick Grayson for being, not the biological son, but getting to enjoy having the father figure in Bruce Wayne.
There was actually, when it came to Dick and Damian, there are some elements to their story that kind of not really echoed, but kind of in a reverse way told like what would happen if Dick raised a Wayne.
Yeah.
Which,
that's true.
I thought it was interesting that in their own way, Dick Grayson got to experience what it was like to be on the other side of that partnership.
Now, just to add this real fact, my favorite thing that DC did and the writers did as a unifying force with the way they handled the Damian death, which I thought, again, was really stupid and contrived, and the Damian in that book was completely different than he was in all the other books.
Right.
And I didn't like it at all, but when they did the RIP, after effects, I thought what they did with both Jason Todd, who saw himself as a failure, who saw himself as not living up to Batman giving him a second chance to be part of the Bat Inc. conglomerate,
Right.
Where Bruce has this really like heartfelt emotional moment with him after Joker had rigged his mask to gas him and stuff, and after he recovered from it, where Bruce told him, hey, you did your best, and that's all I can ask. You're not a failure. It's not your fault, blah, blah, blah. And you are my son, whether you like it or not, blah, 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 And it was a really cool moment. And then Jason, obviously impacted by it, but then still kind of acts like a dick and walks away, but in a very obviously heartfelt manner,
Yeah.
And then with Dick, they had it where this video game that he and Damien had ordered to play together had showed up at his doorstep immediately after the death. And Dick already sees it as his fault because he was in the middle of the battle with Damien and with Batman. And he felt like they did like an issue where he imagines, or maybe it was with Batman and Dick is consoling Batman, but they do this instance where they keep going into a simulation of the events. And basically the only way that Batman can accept that he couldn't save him is by going through the simulation with Dick several times, and Dick finally does the one thing that could have saved him, where he jumps in front and sacrifices himself to save Damien. And that was literally the only way he could have saved him. And then Bruce finally accepts it, and Dick and in the way that Dick unifies them all,
which he's
nurses
good
him
for
back,
that.
And he explains that, yes, you feel guilty, but realize I could have saved him. It could have been me instead of him, and I live with that guilt every day. And then he goes home and he sees the video game on the doorstep, from Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool how they handled those two things. I didn't like how they introduced the concept, but I thought it was really cool how they handled that.
Yeah.
And it really showed like each Robin, even Tim had a little moment, It was. I think they just handled it really, really well. So,
yeah.
So there you have it, folks. Looks like we have Tim Drake for Emery here and Dick Grayson for me. Obviously, there were other ones that were pretty good. Damian Wayne was up there. Jason Todd, probably not so much as Robin, more so as Red Hood.
Oh yeah, it was like
Stephanie Brown obviously got fired for being bad.
Yeah,
and Huntress was good, but again, she was kind of bloodthirsty. So, and then they did like an Elseworld thing where she came to the mainstream line, and she became Huntress because there was already a Robin and stuff. She didn't want to intermingle. That was all right. She was pretty cool, but I think that pretty much covers it. This week's cosplayer of the week is again Emery.
Hey,
with his Gambit coat here and the gloves, getting ready to wear the costume for Halloween and other cosplay events.
Oh yeah, if you guys play your cards right, you might get to see the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll see how my Nightwing costume comes together. I accidentally got myself Toad. The one day of the month was street cleaning, and I parked there because we went on a vacation to Shenandoah for a hiking trip, and it cost me $200, which was going to be my costume monies. But we'll see how I handle that from here on. We got a few weeks left. Remember, if you'd like to be featured on our Cosplayer of the Week segment, you can hit us up on Twitter at HTBVids or on Facebook at /HitTheBooks. Please do not submit other people's cosplay or cosplay you do not have permission to post.
Yeah, whatever you do, just make sure it's your own work material.
If so, we really appreciate you. That wraps up another mediocre edition of Hit the Books podcast.
Mediocre.
Thank you all for sticking with us. And if you like what you hear, be sure to hit like and subscribe down below in the video. And check us out on your podcast services and social networks. We're on Twitter, again, at HTBVids. We're on Facebook at /HitTheBooks. You can also check us out on YouTube, Stitcher, and iTunes. Just search in the title, Hit the Books, and you'll see us on Stitcher and iTunes now. Yay, RSS feed. Yay. We like to update at least by every Wednesday morning. Might not always make it, but you can generally look us up around Wednesday morning for your new releases and new news. I'm your host, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And thanks for watching. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.